To the surprise of many, Valentine's Day isn't an innocent secular holiday. In fact, the true origins of Valentine's Day has its roots in the occult. Namely in the pagan worship of Baal, the sun god. The religion of Babylon. Baal worship is the mother of most false religions, and its influence is still felt worldwide, including in today's churches. Lupercalia, the feast of Lupercus, the mighty wolf hunter. The ancient Roman celebration of Lupercalia was held in honor of Lupercus, the deified great hunter of Rome. This celebration also included worship of the goddess of fertility, Venus. In Roman mythology, this goddess of fertility and sexual immortality had a son called Cupid. Cupid was said to have attended to her and was given power to cause love to begin and to cease. This celebration was held from the 14th through the 15th of February. Some of the events of this pagan holiday included the choosing of partners by chance, in which teenage girls would place their names into a box. The names were then drawn out by young men. The girl whose name was drawn then became the sexual partner with the man for the upcoming year, beginning in March during the fertility rites of the spring equinox. Rome's Lupercalia more than likely began as part of the Babylonian festival of Oimbalk. Oimbalk celebrates midwinter, the midpoint between the winter solstice and the spring equinox and the return of the sun. Beginning February 2, candles were lit to welcome the sun, and the women began their purification process for the upcoming fertility rites of spring. The Catholic Church also adopted this custom from Irish pagans who served the goddess, whom they called Bridget. The Roman Catholic Church now calls her Saint Bridget, the patron saint of smithcraft, poetry and healing. They now call Oimbalk, the candle mass, in which they celebrate the end of the Virgin Mary's purification. Secular society keeps the tradition of Groundhog's Day on the 2nd of February, where the presence of the sun represents the continuance of winter for an additional 6 weeks. Nimrod, Baal and Ashtoreth, queen of heaven. The Greek called Lupercus by the name of Pan, the Semites called Pan Baal. Baal, which is mentioned several times in the Bible, is merely another name for Nimrod the mighty hunter. Genesis 10:8-9. Nimrod was the original Lupercus, and we know that Nimrod was a mighty man who built great cities, including Babel. Genesis 10:10. Not only was Nimrod the ruler of Babel, but he was also the high priest of a satanic occult. When Nimrod finally died, the Babylonian mystery religion continued on through his wife, Queen Semiramis. Upon Nimrod's death, she deified him as the sun god. In various cultures he later became known as Baal, the great life-giver, the god of fire, Baalim, Bel, and Malak. Later, when Queen Semiramis gave birth to an illegitimate son, she claimed that he was Nimrod reborn, Nimrod Tammuz by name. She claimed that he was the promised seed of God. Genesis 3:15, the Savior. Semiramis became the mediator between man and this god. You had to pray through her to reach him. So Nimrod was deified as the god of the sun, Queen Semiramis became the queen of heaven, the goddess of the moon and fertility, and Nimrod Tammuz became the savior in this satanic Babylonian religion. Another name for Nimrod Tammuz was Cupid, which means desire. Queen Semiramis lusted after her son, and soon they were married. As Nimrod Tammuz grew, the child god became the hero of many women, who desired him. This Cupid provoked so many women to jealousy that the idol of Tammuz was called the idol image of jealousy, Ezekiel 8:5-8-14. In the Babylonian tongue the word heart was pronounced Bel. In the depictions of Tammuz the heart-shaped fruit of Persea was often found in his hand. Thus Tammuz became known as the god of the heart. How did this pagan celebration become a Christian tradition? As with most non-biblical customs found in the church today, Lupercalia was simply given a Christian-sounding name and adopted into the Universal Catholic Church. They'd done this to make it easy on the pagan converts who were coming into the new popular Christianity. These pagans were unwilling to give up their satanic rituals, so instead of putting an halt to the growing paganism of the church, the Romans took the approach of blend and incorporate. It was Pope Gelasius who in 496 AD changed Lupercalia to Street Valentine's Day. The word Valentine comes from the Latin word Valentinus, a name derived from valens, meaning, to be mighty strong. The name Valentinus was very common in Rome. Pope Gelasius took the stories of several Catholic Valentines and evolved them into one Saint Valentine. This so-called Saint Valentine has now become the patron saint of lovers in the Catholic faith, and the prayers of troubled lovers are under his jurisdiction. Conclusion: Lupercalia survives still today under the alias of Valentine's Day. This pagan holiday is still celebrated nearly worldwide by Christians and non-Christians alike, and Nimrod Tammuz is still honored as the god of the heart. Even prayers are directed to him by unsuspecting Catholics who foolishly call upon Saint Valentine. But God says, Take heed to thyself that thou be not snared by following them, after that they be destroyed from before thee, and that thou inquire not after their gods, saying, How did these nations serve their gods? Even so will I do likewise. Thou shalt not do so unto the Lord thy God, for every abomination to the Lord, which he hateth, have they done unto their gods, for even their sons and their daughters they have burnt in the fire to their gods. Deuteronomy 12:30-31. You can call a dog a dove, but it's still a dog. Changing the name of a pagan ritual doesn't change the fact that it is still a pagan ritual. 2 Corinthians 15:16 asks us, What conquered agreement has Christ with Belial Baal? Or what agreement hath the temple of God with idols? None, friends. God is a jealous God, a holy God, and he will not mix with devils. Many would rather keep this Babylonian tradition than to keep the simple commandments of God. Jesus called the Pharisees who kept the traditions over the commandments hypocrites and said they worshipped him in vain. Mark 7 verses 6-9.